let's make a simple block entity. If you want to go deeper, the 26.x modding courses are linked down below. 30 plus hours covering complex block entities with fluid and energy handling, custom mobs, custom networking, and even custom biomes and dimensions. Everything you need for 26.x all in one place, linked down below in the description. Alright, my fans, back at you with more, and in this tutorial we'll be adding a custom and simple block entity to our Minecraft mod. The idea is going to be as follows, or maybe the first question that you might ask is, what even is a block entity? We've seen blocks over here. You may or may not know that, mobs are called entities. What is a block entity? Roughly speaking, a block entity is just a block that has some additional data associated with it. For example, an inventory, or I don't even know, any sort of data. There's also a tick method that you could theoretically call. So there's all sorts of very, very interesting things that a block entity can do. Now, they are quite notorious for being quite complicated. That is why we're starting with a simple one over here, and we're going to sort of reshape the pedestal block to a pedestal block and a pedestal block entity. The way that this is going to work is, first of all, we need some, the registration class and all of that. So in the block package, I'm going to make a new package called entity to make the block entity package. There we go. And then instead of the entity package, we're going to make the mod block entities class. And inside of the entity package, we'll also make another one for custom. So this is going to be for our custom block entity classes. And here we're going to have the pedestal block entity class right there. That's going to be the start over here. So we're going to have the mod block entities, pedestal block entity, and we'll also need to change the pedestal block class as well. I think this is where we're going to start. So to make a block into a block entity, or to support a block entity, we need to extend the base entity block class over here. Let's hover over this to implement the two methods we need. There we go. It's going to be okay. So there's the codec and the new block entity method. The new block entity, we're going to make a deliberate error. And for the codec, very straightforward. It's just going to be a public static final map codec over here. Is the map codec of type pedestal block is equal to the codec, and then just a simple codec of pedestal block : new, and we can simply return codec over here. So that is a very, very straightforward thing. Nothing complicated about that. The other two methods we need to override are going to be the onDestroyedByPlayer method, as well as the useItemOn method. So the onDestroyedByPlayer method, I don't even know, do I need to explain what this does? This gets called when the player destroys this particular block. And what we're going to do here is we're going to make it so that it drops the inventory of the block entity. That's the idea. And then the useItemOn method is the right-clicking method. So for the right-clicking functionality, because what I want to do with our pedestal block is I want to right-click it with an item, and then it's going to insert that item into the pedestal. And when we right-click again, we can get that item back. That's the idea. And we'll talk about the logic here once we have the block entity done. But for that, we first of all need to actually go to the block entity class and create all of the craziness in here. As always, of course, all of the code is available to you down below, so you can double check it from there. You may or may not need it, so just be aware. There we go. Now for it, we will extend the block entity class from the block entity class. So there's block entity. There we go. Let's hover over this to create constructor matching super. There we need to change this from, we basically need to delete the type right here and then make a deliberate error right here as well. That's fine. And we can take it from there. Now for our inventory, we're going to do the following. We're going to make a public final item stacks resource handler. This is going to be our inventory equal to a new item stacks resource handler. Then we give it the size. This is how many stacks there are going to be there. And because this is going to be an anonymous class, we basically have the curly brackets right here where we want to override both the onContentsChange method as well as the getCapacity method. The getCapacity method is just going to return a 1 because that is going to make it so that every slot inside of this inventory has a capacity of 1. So we can only ever put 1 diamond in there, or 1 gold block, or 1 whatever we want to add in there. Inside of the onContentsChange method, we're going to call pedestal block entity .this.setChanged. And then if the level is client side, and then we're going to negate this, very important, look at the exclamation mark, we're negating this. So if we are on the server, then we will send a block update over here with block position, get state, and then a update on flag 3, making it so that we are updating everything. That's just going to, ensure some synchronization. And honestly, synchronization is a very good point because that is the next thing that we want to add over here. There's a couple of different methods to add. Do not worry. We're going to basically go through all of those. This is some block entity sync methods over here. There's 2 of them that we want to overwrite: the get update packet method as well as the get update tag method. So both of those need to be overwritten. In the packet one, we want to call the client bound block entity data data packet that create passing in this. And for the get update tag, we want to return save without metadata, passing in the registries. And there we go. Those are for synchronization purposes, like I said, and we will need those later down the line. Now, in terms of using the inventory and things like that, we'll see that in a second inside of the block, because that's where we're going to use the inventory. But we have one method that we definitely need. That is the clear contents method. So there's going to be a new one, public void clear contents. And this one is basically just going to get the inventory. So we're going to say inventory.set. So this is going to set the item stack, or in this case, the item resource of a specific index. In this case, it's going to be 0. That's the only slot that we have, right? We only have the slot with index 0. It's going to be item resource of empty, and it's going to be 0 because, well, it's empty, right? So an empty item resource can only have the amount empty. There we go. Then for ease of access over here, we're going to copy over the drops method. I will explain this though. You will find it's not actually as crazy as you might think. Basically, we're converting the inventory, which right now is a item stacks resource handler. We're converting it, quote unquote, into a simple container, and that can use the drop contents method, which is going to drop the contents of this particular inventory. And this is obviously what we're going to call in a second in the pedestal block class when we destroy this block. That's really the only two methods that we need for interfacing with the inventory. And now, very important, we want two more methods, and those are extremely important. So pay close attention. This is the save additional as well as the load additional method. Both of those are there to save certain parameters, certain fields of your block entity when you, for example, leave the world, right? You save the world, you come back. This is where these things are saved. For example, our inventory output.put child. Then we want to give it a name. Inventory is actually perfect. So this is the key, and this key has to match from when you save it to when you load it. So for example, we do input.child. Then we want to get the inventory, and then we can do if present, meaning if the inventory has been found, we can do inventory : deserialize. Idea here being that it's going to take whatever it finds, right? It like saved from the file, and it's going to then put this into the inventory field. That's all this does. Save additional, load additional are super important methods. Basically, always check if your block entity has any sort of other data saved, then you need both of those. That's very, very important. Now we still have one error over here. This is more or less deliberate in the super call, and we can only fix that when we register our block entity. So we're going to go to our mod block entities class, and of course, to register something, what are we going to need? Absolutely a public static final deferred register over here of type block entity type. This is correct. Block entity, this is not correct, but rather the block entity type over here is correct. There we go. And this is going to be of type question mark. This is the block underscore entities equal to a deferred register dot create. I'm going to do the built-in registries dot block entity type tutorial mod dot mod ID. And where there's a deferred register, of course, there is a register method over here with an event bus, called event bus. Look at that. And there we go. We, of course, then also wanted to call this register method, write it down here, mod block entities dot register, passing in the mod event bus. Absolutely fantastic. And then we can register the block entity, really not that crazy, public static final supplier of type block entity type of type. And this is now the class, the block entity class. So this is the pedestal block entity. There we go. It's going to be our pedestal underscore BE equal to block entities dot register. Then the name here, pedestal underscore BE. Then a supplier of a new block entity type. And that one needs the pedestal block entity : new. And the second parameter is modblocks dot pedestal block dot get over here. There we go. And that's going to finish that. Idea here being that why is there two of them? I actually don't know. This is not right. It only needs one. This one I can think, yeah, it can take as many blocks as you want, because you can in theory add the same block entity type to multiple different blocks. But in this case, it only has one block, which is the pedestal block. With this now registered, we can go back to the pedestal block entity and say mod block entities dot pedestal be dot get. And there we go. If you say, well, how do you use the constructor of the block entity and you also use it in that one? Well, I'm pretty sure it actually has a different constructor here as well. Regardless of that though, that's going to finish the pedestal block entity class in its entirety. And we also have it registered. So now we can go back to the pedestal block to first of all add the new pedestal block entity right here, passing in the world position and the block state. Absolutely fantastic. Then we go along over here to the dropping, very straightforward. If level dot get block entity, this is actually extremely correct over here. So if the block entity at the position that we've destroyed is a pedestal block entity, then we're going to do pedestal block entity dot drops. This is going to drop everything. And we will also do a level dot send block update. Actually, not quite. We actually want to update the neighbors for output signal at this position with this block over here that has changed. That is it. That is the entire onDestroyed player method. Now for the logic, the right-clicking logic, now it gets interesting. First of all, we want to return an interaction result of success, and then we get into the weeds of this. So we want to make sure that this is the case. So if level block get block entity at this position is a pedestal block entity, you cast it to a pedestal block entity. This does two things. It basically just makes sure that, hey, this was actually a block entity of that type, and it also casts this to it, making it so that you immediately have access to it, makes it a little bit easier. Now, when we think about how the right-clicking functionality is going to work for the pedestal, it is of course two different modes, so to speak. We have one right-click where we want to insert an item onto the pedestal, and one right-click where we want to extract it. So we're going to have an insert as well as an extract, right? That is the whole idea. Now for the insert, we will need something, or rather for both of them, and that's going to be a boolean is pedestal empty. Just makes it a little bit easier for us to understand what is going on. So if the pedestal is empty, how is this going to look like? Well, pedestal block entity that inventory that get resource at index 0 dot is empty. Crazily enough, that is basically the question that we need to ask. And then we can say exactly this. So inserting, obviously it needs to be empty, and the item stack that we've right-clicked cannot be empty. So we actually have to right-click with an item to actually put it on, right? So we're going to negate item stack is empty, exactly right, because the item stack parameter over here, that is the item stack that we've just right-clicked with. We're going to say pedestal block entity that inventory that set at the position or index 0. We're going to make an item resource of the item that we just right-clicked with over here, and we're going to set the amount to 1, meaning that it doesn't matter how much, like how many items that my item stack has, it's always going to put in 1 over here, and the item stack itself is also only going to shrink by 1. That's the whole idea. Finally, we're going to say level.play sound because we want some feedback over here for the player. It's actually quite important to do that. Otherwise, I really urge you to try this. Remove the play sound for both the inserting and the extracting, even once we have visuals, which in this case we're not going to have in this tutorial. That's going to happen in the next one. But even with the visuals, it's super confusing. We will use the sound events.item pickup over here with a blocks sound source volume 1 pitch 2. There we go. That is the insertion. And then the extraction, we want to make sure that the pedestal is not empty. However, we basically don't really care about whether or not we've clicked with an empty item stack or not. That one does not concern us, only that the pedestal has something in there, because otherwise we can't extract it. The way that works is item stack, this is going to be the stack on pedestal. We're going to get this via pedestal block entity that inventory that get resource at index 0, and then we're going to make that into a stack. Now here, caution over here, the toStack method copies the item resource that is on the inside of the inventory with a count of 1. Super important that you double check this if you have anything else, like any other inventory that doesn't restrict the number of items to 1. This is an easy way to do something wrong. If you want the actual complete resource of that inventory, you need to use what is called the item access over here. That's going to be what you need to use there. For our purposes right here, for this specific case, the toStack method is totally fine. For other cases, it might not be. We then want to call the clear contents method right here. It's going to clear the contents, obviously. And then this is a beautiful thing that we have basically from vanilla, which is so awesome. We can use player.getInventory.add, and then we add the stack on pedestal. And then here, super important, pay close attention. We negate this. So this is a false, meaning that if we did not add the item, or if we can't add the item to the inventory, then we're going to say player drop stack on pedestal false. Idea here being the add method is going to search for the first valid slot inside of the player's inventory. Meaning if we have 13 gold blocks and we want to extract the gold block, it's going to first of all put it onto the stack that is available. If the entire inventory is full, we're simply going to drop the stack. Super simple, super easy. The final thing here is then going to be also a play sound, and we're going to do that with a pitch of 1. That is the entire logic over here. This, of course, super important, is very specific logic for a very specific block entity in our specific example. If you want to do anything else that's more complicated, then this is where you come in. You have to take your Java knowledge and your creativity and your knowledge of Minecraft modding and go ahead and go crazy with it. I highly recommend you step through it exactly like this. What is the things that you want to be able to do with this block entity? What are the different steps? Put in the comments right here. Be like, okay, what do I need for this? What are the different, booleans? What has to be correct for this? Like what has to be true? What has to be false? Things like that. You have to step through it and break it down into very, very distinct chunks, right? Like each of the instructions here is broken down into, well, basically, individual chunks, right? Like that's the idea. And that's the way that you have to go about this. Because if I tell you, make a pedestal where you go right click, you can put on an item and you can extract the item, you're going to be like, oh, I don't even know where to start. And that's the exact point. You have to break every step down, right? Okay, first of all, what are the different things that I can do? I can insert and I can extract. What does need to be true for inserting? Well, obviously there can't be anything on the pedestal, and so on and so forth. You go through this, and that's how you build this logic out. For the purposes of our example, we are done. That is everything that we're going to need. The pedestal and the block entity, they're all connected with each other via registration right here. So that is all already done. And so I would say, let's jump into the game and see if it pedestals. Alright, fans, I'm back in Minecraft, and let's just set down some different pedestals over here, and let's see. So if I now right click with a diamond, boom, it is gone, and we even heard a sound. And the same thing, you know, if I do this, boom, 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 that all works. And if I right click them again, look at this, boom, we get it out, boom, boom, boom. Isn't that absolutely fantastic? That is absolutely amazing. And of course, if we, you know, let's just put this in here, put this in here, put this in here, and now, you know, I save, and then we go back in, we can see, well, nothing, but if we right click, we can get the items out again. So of course, right now, the visuals are lacking a little bit. I am in full agreement with you, but we're gonna fix that with a block entity renderer, and that's gonna be pretty freaking cool. But for the time being, that is a simple block entity. Absolutely awesome. And that's gonna be it for this tutorial right here. As always, all of the code is available to you down below. And thank you so much for watching, and thanks for the support on Patreon and on YouTube. Don't forget, if you join as a Stonebricks member on YouTube, you can get up to 14 days of early access, including this video right here, where we'll add the block entity renderer, making it visual. Hope to see you there. So yeah.